Saint Aloysius Gonzaga Confessor, Seminarian of the Society of Jesus, mystic, Marian devotee, born of a noble family as Prince Luigi. Known as the Angel of Purity. Patronages, Catholic youth, Jesuit scholastics, the blind, eye ailments, AIDS patients, caregivers, Jesuit students, for relief from pestilence, young people, Castiglione del Stiviere, Italy, Valmonte, Italy. Gonzaga was born the eldest of 8 children, at his family's castle in Castiglione del Stiviere, between Brescia and Mantova in northern Italy in what was then part of the Duchy of Mantova, inter a cadet branch of the illustrious House of Gonzaga. Aloysius is the Latin form of his given name in Italian, Luigi. Gonzaga was the son of Ferrante de Gonzaga, 1544–1586, Marquis of Castiglione, and Donna Marta Tanna di Sant'Enna, daughter of a baron of the Piedmontese delle family. His mother was a lady-in-waiting to Isabel, the wife of Philip II of Spain. As the firstborn son, he was in line to inherit his father's title and status of Marquis. His father assumed that Gonzaga would become a soldier, as that was the norm for sons of the aristocracy, and the family was often involved in the minor wars of the period. As early as age 4, Luigi was given a set of miniature guns and accompanied his father on training expeditions so that the boy might learn the art of arms. At age 5, Gonzaga was sent to a military camp to get started on his training. His father was pleased to see his son marching around camp at the head of a platoon of soldiers. His mother and his tutor were less pleased with the vocabulary he picked up there. He grew up amid the violence and intrigue of Renaissance Italy and witnessed the murder of 2 of his brothers. In 1576, at age 8, he was sent to Florence along with his younger brother, Rodolfo, to serve at the court of the Grand Duke Francesco I de' Medici and to receive further education. While there, he fell ill with a disease of the kidneys, which troubled him throughout his life. While he was ill, he took the opportunity to read about the saints and to spend much of his time in prayer. In November 1579, the brothers were sent to the Duke of Mantova. Gonzaga was shocked by the violent and frivolous lifestyle he encountered there. Gonzaga returned to Castiglione where he met Cardinal Charles Borromeo, and from him received First Communion on the 22nd of July 1580. After reading a book about Jesuit missionaries in India, Gonzaga felt strongly that he wanted to become a missionary. He started practicing by teaching catechism classes to young boys in Castiglione in the summers. He also repeatedly visited the houses of the Capuchin friars and the Barnabites located in Casal Monferrato, the capital of the Gonzaga-ruled Duchy of Montferrat where the family spent the winter. He also adopted an ascetic lifestyle. The family was called to Spain in 1581 to assist Maria of Austria, Holy Roman Empress. They arrived in Madrid in March 1582, where Gonzaga and Rodolfo became pages for the young Infante Diego. Gonzaga started thinking in earnest about joining a religious order. He had considered joining the Capuchins, but he had a Jesuit confessor in Madrid and decided instead to join that order. His mother agreed to his request, but his father was furious and prevented him from doing so. In July 1584, a year and a half after the Infante's death, the family returned to Italy. Gonzaga still wanted to become a priest, but several members of his family worked hard to persuade him to change his mind. When they realized there was no way to make him give up his plan, they tried to persuade him to become a secular priest and offered to arrange for a bishopric for him. If he were to become a Jesuit, he would renounce any right to his inheritance or status in society. 5. His family's attempts to dissuade him failed. Gonzaga was not interested in higher office and still wanted to become a missionary. Gonzaga's health continued to cause problems. He was sent to Milan for studies, but after some time he was sent back to Rome because of his health. On the 25th of November 1587, he took the 3 religious vows of chastity, poverty and obedience. In February and March 1588, he received minor orders and started studying theology to prepare for ordination. In 1591, a plague broke out in Rome. The Jesuits opened a hospital for the stricken, and Gonzaga volunteered to work there. After begging alms for the victims, Gonzaga began working with the sick, carrying the dying from the streets into a hospital founded by the Jesuits. There he washed and fed the plague victims, preparing them as best he could to receive the sacraments. But though he threw himself into his tasks, he privately confessed to his spiritual director, Robert Bellarmine, that his constitution was revolted by the sights and smells of the work. He had to work hard to overcome his physical repulsion. At the time, many of the younger Jesuits had become infected with the disease, and so Gonzaga's superiors forbade him from returning to the hospital. But Gonzaga, long accustomed to refusals from his father, persisted and requested permission to return, which was granted. Eventually he was allowed to care for the sick, but only at another hospital, called Our Lady of Consolation, where those with contagious diseases were not admitted. While there, Gonzaga was infected. He grew ill and was bedridden by the 3rd of March 1591, a few days before his 23rd birthday. Gonzaga declined for many weeks. It seemed certain that he would die in a short time, and he was given extreme unction. He spoke several times with his confessor, the cardinal and later Saint Robert Bellarmine. Gonzaga told several people that he would die on the octave of the feast of Corpus Christi. On that day, the 21st of June 1591, as he began to grow weak, Bellarmine gave him the last rites. He died just before midnight. Gonzaga was buried in the Church of the Most Holy Annunciation, which later became the Church of St. Ignatius of Loyola in Rome. His name was changed to Robert before his death, in honor of his confessor. Many people considered him to be a saint soon after his death, and his remains were moved into the Sant'Ignazio Church. In 1729, Pope Benedict XIII declared Aloysius de Gonzaga to be the patron saint of youth and students. In 1926, he was named patron of all Christian youth by Pope Pius XI. Owing to the manner of his death, he has been considered a patron saint of plague victims. For his compassion and courage in the face of an incurable disease, Saint Aloysius Gonzaga has become the patron both of AIDS patients and their caregivers. Gonzaga is also the patron of Valmonte, a town in Lazio. Aloysius Gonzaga is also celebrated in a small South Italy town called Alesia, as a patron of the town. Celebrated on June 21, he was beatified only 14 years after his death by Pope Paul V, on the 19th of October 1605. On the 31st of December 1726, he was canonized together with another Jesuit novice, Stanislaus Kostka, by Pope Benedict XIII.